So here we
Um,
go. Oh, look, we're live. Maybe we should. You want to run the intros? Let's run the intro for fun.
all right,
Really
let's
good.
do it.
This is True OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, 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 and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
All right,
Oh, look at us. We're back, kids.
that's right. Another week, another show, and
There you
we're
go.
rolling off a good one with David D. Malfetta last week, talking about cybersecurity and at the federal level.
Is that really his name, or he just has a name like that because he wants to, that's so guys like us can't pronounce it? That's all I
Well,
want.
it's like NPR. You know, you got to
Okay.
have all these like Satirius Johnson, right? You got to have these very
I mean,
interesting.
he's like 4 letters shy of the whole alphabet. I mean, come on.
Names.
Like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious type thing, you know? It's like, all
That's
right,
right.
great.
Well, it's a good Italian name. Come on, Stephen. Good Italian
No,
Yeah.
that's
name.
true. Well, it's just like we're gonna.
Yeah.
He didn't invite us for pasta. I mean, what kind of Italian guy is this then? So, it was a good show. His
Yeah.
shorts are doing good. We
Oh,
got a lot more
God.
shorts to put out, and I understand he's going to come back again because he liked us because he drinks
He
heavily.
did. He had a good time. He had a good time.
What's not to have a good time? You have John, who doesn't shut up, who just kept
Oh,
talking and
not at
talking the
all.
whole
No.
time. And it's just like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And then we
sure.
sit there, and
Yeah.
John just keeps going on with the guests.
Yeah.
It's how it is.
I,
So there you go.
I,
Well, you know, we've got. What's that, John?
Speak up, Mr.
yeah, who's
Potato Head. What
talking
did you
too
already
much,
say?
huh? Yeah. Who's the
He's
blabbermouth
tongue
here?
tied.
Who
Yes,
can't
that's
shut
right.
up? Yeah.
Dude, here's
Well,
how this
John, I mean,
works.
before we get into the back and forth on the tariff discussion, because we're part of Stephen and I and are part of Michael Collins' mailing list, and I shared that information with you, John, too, on our WhatsApp group. But there's a rousing debate around the tariffs and how they should be implemented. And obviously, it's not just in Michael Collins' mailing list; it's all across the world. But before we get into that, John, what's been on your mind in the business world this past week? Because it has been an exciting week.
Is this going to be a
Yeah.
new segment? What's on John's mind? Oh, I'm going to love this.
Yeah.
What's on John's
Hey,
mind?
look,
We got to get graphics. David, I know you're
I,
watching. I need graphics for
I,
what's on John's mind. Should be his head
yeah, sure.
exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Look, I mean, I'm sure you've been looking at your brokerage account and how it's going on up and down.
No,
Yeah.
poor
I
people do
think
that, John. We don't do that.
yeah, yeah. So that's been my focus really because there's a lot of fun activity to do with the Trump tariffs.
Right.
You know, especially as we came to Liberation Day.
Mhm.
You know, you
Can
you
you
have
explain that to us, John? What's Liberation Day?
Liberation
I
Day.
didn't know we were at war. Could you tell me
Wednesday.
what
Yeah,
Liberation Day
we
is?
are. Well, we're at economic war here. I mean, when you get 2% tariffs for the most part for most countries before Liberation Day, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get flooded with imports, right? And
Okay.
you have the labor arbitrage that's going on, and then you lose manufacturing. So you know how what Trump said. You know,
Happened for
we're going to
40
put
years.
tariffs on everybody. So 10%. You know, and we have it now with a pause for 90 days. So
For most
Except for in
nations
China.
for the
Except
90
in
nations
China.
that are at
yeah,
the
so
discussion table, but China chose not to do that.
yeah, so but for me, it's been the markets, right? The markets have been well, they've been down for what a month now, uh, and that hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
can I bring up an
uh,
interesting point that I had a dialogue with somebody yesterday that's an economics guy for one of the networks, a real network that begins with a B. Anyway, he was like talking about Trump wants to do this new stable coin and his meme coin. And we've discussed this a little on the show. He goes, what a
Something
great way to what a great way to pay off somebody in crypto. And so you get no tariffs. Like, we bought like $100 million worth of your coin, which basically goes to their little platform or their company. So China, I think, didn't go for the blackmail. And today in the Financial Times, China says, great, if you want to, we're doing 125% tariffs on your stuff.
Yeah.
So it's getting to a point where it's like, listen, Donnie, did G do something you don't like? Well, like, what did he piss you off? Like, what did the Canadians do? It's sort of like, he's like the bully in the yard. It's like, they pissed me off. I agree to a point what you say about economics, John, but I don't agree. We were doing fine with it should be reciprocal. Like if you charge 10, we charge 10. But this ridiculous stuff that he's doing is just hurting the economy in the US. People can't afford, now they can again for 90 days. I don't really care about stocks and bonds. That's all bullshit for amateurs. I mean, like people with money don't put their stuff in that. They put it in tons of other things, and that's not one of them really, because it's nothing. It's like that's play money. That's Vegas money. But what he's doing is he's just screwing up the country, and
For
that's a
who?
he's for whether you're
Because
wealthy or
because
you're poor, and if you don't have real money, and I'm not saying what real money is. If you don't have real money and you're in the market, you have a heart attack daily, and the market is a non-emotional thing, right? It goes up and it goes down. It's just who cares? But with the tariffs, things are going to cost more. Walmart's already negotiating with, if you will, China, like you have to make it for less. There was a guy on TV the other day from one of the Chinese manufacturers, and he pulled out a shoe, and I'm not going to say the brand, but he's like, cost us $5 to make it. You pay $250 for
yeah,
it. Okay. Well, now just say when it comes here, the landed cost instead of $10 is 20. Bet you that $200 plus shoe is now $500. Why? Because greed. So it's a whole circle of things, but the way he's going about it, I don't think, once again, it's kind of like when Doge cuts stuff. There's no forethought. It's like, let's just do this. Okay. And then when they retaliate, like Canada going, okay, we're just going to charge you 50% more for electric. Well, that doesn't hurt Donnie. That hurts the people that have to pay for the
what do
electric.
you think? What do you think of the idea that he and his administration were using AI to figure out what the tariff should be in the first round? In the first round,
I mean,
did
when
you see
Trump
that
won or
article?
Trump two?
Did you see that article? No,
No.
just it was last. It was when he first was doing Liberation Day. The first set of tariffs that were announced seemed to
Yeah.
be correlated with a very simple equation to say, here's the gap, here's
Yeah.
the deficit, and then we'll just cut it in half and do a percentage that fills that half. So it was somebody used AI. It looks like it came from an AI calculation because it was a very simplistic view on it, and somebody was able to replicate that. Now, the thing is, if he's using AI, I think he should be using AI because AI has a body of knowledge in a way that it's it's the first digital super intelligence, so we might as well get its opinion and see how that plays out. But
Apparently not well, because the big chart, the color
well,
coordinated chart that he pulled out, all the economists and all the reporters have already told you all the mistakes on that chart, which did come, I think, from AI, because that's, I think, where they got it from. That chart was an AI chart, and they're all
mhm.
like, "This is wrong." It's like it literally would explain why it's wrong, and it's wrong on so many points that if that was AI generated, I don't know who he used. He probably used his ex's AI because him and Elon got. But anyway, um, that's crap.
Yeah, but nobody
So
really cares about that. That's just
The surface
the
level,
talking
right?
heads on
Yeah.
in media that needs to fill in the air. Nobody gives a rat's ass about whether it's calculated wrong or because it was the
I do.
deficit. 10%. Okay, right. It's, it's a 10% tax. Right? It's a consumption tax, right?
Charge a
The
VAT
U.S.
tax
buys,
then.
has a it's a $1 trillion trade deficit yearly,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so everybody, the sort of experts or the gurus, say no, it's already destroyed this country. It's deindustrialized. What are you going to do? You're going to have hundreds of millions of people on receiving a handout from the government because they can't find jobs.
Why not?
I mean, at some point you have to say, okay, we have to change this because this isn't working. Yeah, okay. The labor arbitrage with China, which has basically slave labor that just they sleep in dorms next to the factories. Okay,
Right.
we have to change that, and it's gonna take a cost. But no other administration, Republican or Democrat, was doing anything. At some point, somebody's got to say, okay, we're going to change the game because the game isn't working for us.
I have a
And if
question
you
for you.
think, uh, and the other concept here is that who's financing our sort of over the top consumption? It's the people that are selling us this stuff, and
Right.
then you get into debt with these
Right.
people, and eventually they're gonna just own you, and then at that
Which
point, what do you do?
yeah.
It's
Revolution, baby.
This is like
Revolution.
it's very easy
revolution.
to
Yeah.
See, I got a question for you, John.
revolution. Yes, yeah.
So basically, the trade deficit is the American public, and it's not the American public; it's corporate America. They're just greedy motherfuckers. Full stop. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're going to be very blunt. I'm from New York. I don't give a shit. That's the problem. You can't all of a sudden go, no more greed, bad, 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 because a Republican named Ronnie Reagan is the one who kind of started this. Greed is good, if you will. Now, my question is, okay, what are we bringing back? Are we going to get rid of child labor laws, which I'm okay with, by the way, because those little shits need to work. Anyway, but what are you going to do? You're not going to have 8-year-olds working in a sweatshop. That would be good, but we're not allowed to, apparently. But Donnie will change that. Donnie,
Come
change
on.
that law. Anyway, no, I'm serious. Change it. Because they need to learn responsibility. Because you're not teaching them shit at school. You might as well teach them how to screw
Look,
into the
I mean,
iPhone.
obviously,
Wait. Let me finish my real thought.
obviously.
But you build a factory.
Oh, you
We
have
have
one?
AI. We do. We have AI and we have robots. So I'm going to say I build the XYZ for whatever widget. In the old days, I would have employed, we'll say 10,000 people. Now with all the new technology, I really employ 50 people and the rest are robots and AI. I'm not really making America anything. I mean, granted, 50 people have a job. So your point earlier about we're going to have to subsidize people. Yes, John, we are. Or you're going to have, like the Beatles said, gonna be a bad, that, it's inevitable. You have to come up with a better thing and you're not. Nobody is, not saying you personally, but the Trump administration isn't coming up with anything. Build a factory. Great. Okay. Then what? You kick out all the immigrants who build it. Who's building it? You? Feel free.
Well, there's
Yeah.
plenty of people in the U.S. that they can learn new skills and build these things. The
Good
idea
luck
that
with that.
we can't do that, then
We can't.
well,
They're
you got to
lazy
start
fucks.
somewhere because if you just give up,
Yeah, you
no.
can't
But what
just
you're saying is, let's give up because it doesn't. We can't reverse it. No, you're not going to go back to the 1960s, but at least you
30s.
can solidify the manufacturing base, maybe increase it a little bit, maybe increase the skills of some of the people that are on
That
the
requires
periphery,
education, John.
and you got to do something,
Send
right?
them to school. Yeah, no, it's not because we don't
Yeah.
teach
Well,
anybody
okay.
anything. So get rid of the child. That's what I'm saying. Get rid of the
Well,
child
but
labor laws. When you're 8 years old, go to the factory or whatever and screw in the little thing to the iPhone and start putting the kids to work because you're not teaching them anything.
yeah,
You're
but
making the kids dumber.
someone made an interesting point that should we really be subsidizing poor labor laws in the rest of the world by not having these tariffs? So should we really be comfortable with the lack of labor laws of young people in China putting together our iPhones so that we in the wealthy nations can have these high technologies? I mean, should we really be subsidizing that through tariffs and a lack of fair trade?
Who
That because
cares?
that's really what you're supporting. That's really what
I'm
you're.
okay with that. I
That's
don't
really,
care. That's the problem. I don't care. I only have to worry about my little universe. My little universe is everybody that works at 2OF and
mm-hmm.
everybody that works for me elsewhere. That's my little universe. I have to make sure they're okay. Other than that, I don't care if your government, and I don't care what government it is, has no child labor laws and they put little kids to work, not my problem. And I am not the police officer for the world. I have to worry about my little piece of what I have to worry about. And so, do I want to pay a tariff? I got to pay it regardless. But just so we're clear, there's rich people now in China, they're buying the same phones made by
Mm-hmm.
their people. So it's
Yeah.
not us Western country. That's a bunch of malarkey. They're buying the BYD cars. So they have money too. So unless the world is going to collectively, and I mean this kind of tongue in cheek, have just the president of the world, and we have the same laws across the borders that say, listen, we have child labor laws, we have this, we have this, we have this, boom, done, then I care. Until then, not my problem. I cannot fix what's China, Bangladesh, India, I can go through, can't fix it. And if I'm not going to lose sleep over it because I can't fix it. And it's not my job to fix it. That's not what I do. I'm an investment banker. I am a whore. I am the oldest profession. So I only care about how much money I make my people. And so, no, I don't care about their labor laws. I don't even care about their human rights because we have all the same problems here and we're not doing shit. So I can't give a rat's ass
This
about
is
any other
maybe an
country's
effort.
problem
I mean,
until that's
but
it.
that's the reality. Maybe this is the effort to one, reshore manufacturing, to re-educate people, and
Re-educate? Stop it.
yeah,
Stop it.
yeah,
Really? How you
get
re-educating?
get
People don't
people.
read the
I mean,
news.
Yeah.
get people upskilled. Get people upskilled in the trades. In manufacturing by having companies reinvest in American talent.
Okay. And all that American
I
talents come from
mean,
foreign countries. So, okay, that works. But I'm just saying, and look at Honda. And we talked about this, Michael Collins. Honda's going to build a plant.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're going to build a plant. We're going to move our plant from Mexico to America. It'll be ready in 28 or 29. Okay. Awesome. And if they forgot to tell you is we're going to put like 50,000 robots in it and we need 5 humans. But we're building a plant.
Yeah, and that brings us to another big topic is the
Okay.
robots. Have you guys seen what
Yes.
NVIDIA is doing with the robots? I mean,
No, have you seen the Chinese one?
the robots are going to backfill in. The robots, well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Right.
Some of them are coming out of China, of course. But the robots are going to backfill the labor force, absolutely, in the very near future.
Like
Very
tomorrow.
near future. Yeah,
In
well,
fact,
it's
next
already
Friday,
happening.
we
It's
have one
already
replacing John. So you don't even know the difference. You're putting a mask on and everything. So, but no, I mean, that's the problem.
yeah.
Everything that this administration is talking about, they're talking through their ass or they're talking through their AI. Either one, you pick. And if I'm AI, I'm laughing like China is all the way in the bank going, yeah, you're stupid. Let's do this. You're an idiot human. And they're not thinking through this because once again, all meat bags like us are going to do is fix the robots. So you're
yeah,
unfortunately
I
to
mean,
John's
that's not a
point,
bad.
you're going to have to probably subsidize part of your population because you will have some sort of revolution or war. And not that it was like 2 weeks ago when they were all protesting in all these state capitals. That's what I've been saying for a year. And that's what I don't want to see because that leads to another thing, that leads to another thing, that leads to, oh my God, we could have prevented this. And until you figure out how to prevent it, we have a problem. So the tariffs, as good of an idea as it is, implemented 100,000% wrong. If they gave thought to it and implemented it properly, that would have helped. Also, the governments around the world, Trump told you what he was going to do in November. The fact that you're acting like it's such a shock now in
Mm,
April,
mm.
you're idiots just as well. Like he told you he's going to imply these 10 billion% tariffs. And you guys are like, no, he's not. Yes, he is. You know him. You didn't like him in 2016 to 2020. And now all of a sudden you thought he changed. So these governments in the EU, dumber than a box of rocks. They need to all be replaced. China doesn't give a shit because China is like they're our superpower and they're equal to us, whether you like it or not. Russia, nobody cares about, really. They're going to invade the Ukraine and Poland in the next year. India is trying to figure out how to become a superpower. So nobody cares. And the problem is the leaders could have prepared for this. They had 3 or 4 months. When this happened, they would have like, no problem, boom, boom,
They
boom. But
did have
everything they're doing
time.
is
Yeah.
reaction. Right. It's all reactionary. It's sort of like the joke I used on Vaguely True with the Falkland Islands. When the British said they left the port going, we're going to invade the Falkland Islands and rescue our people. Okay. And then when the Falkland Islands got invaded 2 weeks later, because it took a while for the ships and the vessels to get across the ocean, the Falkland Islands like, we're being invaded? We didn't know. Really? Read a newspaper. And so this is the same thing. You have political leaders globally that are morons. So get rid of these idiots. And that's the problem. And ours are no better. Ours is just a bully because he's got stuff. But the people in Europe, they're getting screwed because their leaders are idiots. China's the only one that was prepared for it. They're like, yeah, great, whatever. This is what we're going to do. They
Yeah,
already have contingency
I think
plans.
they actually said that. So they're not gonna react to the rest of the Trump administration's retaliatory moves, their tariffs. And after they raised
25%. Yeah.
to the 125,
Right.
they said we're not going to we're going to ignore them.
125,
Yeah. But that's my point, though.
yeah.
When China heard what Trump said, Xi and his contingency
I
groups were
believe
like,
them.
okay, they were ready. They had their little plan ready to go. When he did X, they did Y. Boom, boom, boom. Nothing react. It's like, you do that, we do this. Good. The rest of the world
Yeah.
apparently forgot to read the newspaper
Look,
or watch the news.
but this is also a wake-up call for the rest of the world to look at their trade deficit with China. China has become, replaced the manufacturing of most of the world, and it's been detrimental. The world has to turn around and say, this isn't working for all of us, because you talk about the U.S. and Europe. Go to Africa; it's completely dominated with Chinese, influence products.
South America.
Destroying everything in its wake. Same in South America. A lot of these
When you
countries,
say,
are getting huge imports from China.
yeah.
The war is with China. I mean, if you haven't figured that out, I mean, I don't even I haven't been living on this planet, because they're destroying everything that they touch. It's not a. It's not a. It's not a. It's not. When we talk about fair trade, it's not a fair
Mhm.
trade.
No,
It's
no.
Right.
it's a one-way street. Yeah. When somebody steals and everything that you have, and so technology, know-how, everything. That's what the Chinese have done, and now, of course,
It's
we're
from
paying the
Walmart,
price for being, stupid.
right? Well, Walmart did
So
the same thing. If like their Walmart's for America is China. I mean, they basically came into your town and did what China did. They're like, look, we can do it bigger, better, and cheaper. So Walmart did the same thing.
yeah,
I don't see us. We're
Well,
not
that was on
protesting
the backs
Walmart.
of Chinese goods. Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm just saying
well,
though.
they
You used
didn't. They didn't steal your IP. They didn't steal, everything
let's not get
that
carried away
Actually,
there,
all your
John.
knowledge base.
They actually
You
did
know.
a lot of
So I
stuff
mean,
like that.
no, some of them do.
yeah,
Like if they want to sell a product for cheap, they'll sell it for you for a year, and
And then
during that
reverse engineer
time,
it. Yeah.
that's right.
So they do. Walmart does
yeah,
that, John. So does Costco's
yeah.
and Sam's Clubs and the rest of them. So no. So basically, we do the shit that you're complaining about in America with American companies. So
So
that's
American
a pot
companies
calling the kettle
spy
black.
on, European companies and steal, their IP, and then no, I don't think so.
I
That's just an
really,
excuse. You're a
John.
China, I don't know what you call you.
Here's
You
what I
like
am,
to
John.
like to
I'm
defend them.
American. I'm American citizen, but I've done deals all over the planet. I actually know what goes on. I still do deals to this day. I hear and see stuff. So it's very nice that the American public or any public can live in their glass little bubble and go, China's bad and this one's bad and that one's bad.
It's never that simple. Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
it's not. We do just as much shit as everybody else, except that we're America, so we're the good guys. And like I just said, Walmart, Costco, they all do the same stuff to little mom and pop
Yeah, but
inventors or whatever it is.
the actual hollowing of the middle class and the removal of manufacturing from the United States is the effect of what has happened with the relationship with China and other countries.
That's
So
CEOs being
that's
greedy for profit.
sure. I mean, that's a big part of it, and that's what has influenced the laws and the rules that have led to that. But
Right.
there has to be a conversation that there has to be a reversal of that, or at least some sort of. It'll never go back to the way it was. But what is the next frontier for how people are going to survive in the modern economy? And it's a conversation that has to happen at the highest levels, which, admittedly, are probably not.
Right. Well, I agree with you. I also agree with what John says. However, to your point, this administration doesn't have enough IQ points to have that dialogue. They can be the bully with a bat and beat the shit out of everybody, but that's not going to get you where you
Well,
need to
look,
go. Go ahead, John. Go ahead,
did the
John.
previous one have the IQ? Did the previous one have the
No,
IQ? Did they do
in
anything?
my opinion,
No.
the last president that my opinion, the last presidents that had IQ points, Obama was very nice. I liked him until he accepted the Nobel Peace Prize for doing nothing. Then he
Nothing.
lost my respect. Nixon had IQ points because he opened up China, good, bad, or indifferent. Reagan had IQ points, and even
Yeah,
Clinton because he got the bone. Those are the last in our generation that had
Mm.
enough IQ points to do. Paul Volcker, they don't have another Paul Volcker that's running the Fed. They don't have these guys that have thought and insight into a global system. They have Fox News guy, a
Mm.
cheerleader, and they don't have that. So no, this administration, John, does not have. The last one, no, they did not have. I'm okay with saying, listen, I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I don't give a shit. They have people that are dumber than a box of rocks. So until you put someone in there, like let's just say our little three of us, if we get there, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to argue over 10,000 different things. But at the end of the day, we're going to come up with maybe 5 things that we're going to be like, yep, those will work. We may not agree with all 5 as a
Right.
group, but those 5 things will be what will make America better, help with
yeah,
economics, help it. But they don't do that. The emperor says it's blue, and everybody's like, it's blue. Oh, that's good. Would you like to push back on that? No. Okay. And that's what the problem is. This administration doesn't have the manpower, the brain power, or anything that I can see yet that is going to do, to your point, and to Michael's point, bring things back and really make them work. Just saying, I'm the president for this little example. I'm bringing all this back. People are, oh my God, he's so wonderful. Oh my God. Right. But what I forgot to tell you is, as I said earlier, the 10,000 human beings really are those cool robots I just saw out of China. I want one. I got one, by the way. Anyway, um, those robots are going to do all the stuff. And I only really need, say, 500 people to make sure
Yeah,
the
that's
robots
right.
and
You
the
don't
AI
need
do
as many
everything.
people. Yeah. No,
So I'm
that's
not,
a big conversation. That's a
well,
big
yeah,
conversation that has to be had
right.
with
But that's
with the
the
whole
issue. They're
shift
not
of the
having
labor
that.
yeah, well,
force.
Right. We're not
well, but you
having
got to
that.
do something. That's you can't just sit there and and slowly deteriorate your, I don't know,
But that requires education, and they're
your
taking away
system.
education. Right? No, I agree with you, but we don't have education. So if we're going to do that, we should have the Department of Ed, which apparently is no longer, and the states are literally killing education. Say, okay, what are we going to do for this generation? How are we going to help America? Oh, robots, AI. Let's teach them all about robots and AI and math and blah 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 blah. And the kids that excel like that, we push them that way. And the kids who excel, and there's nothing that can, and I mean this tongue in cheekish, like when we were kids, you could take automotive, you could take
Yeah,
carpentry.
right,
The
right.
kids that
Yeah.
excel at
You
that, let's
take a
push it.
variety of
And then
things.
then all of a sudden, now I'm getting a generation, to your point, John, and to Michael's point, that will be ready for when this happens. There's generations that the last 2 or 3 now, dumber than a box of rocks. They can't fight themselves out of a wet paper bag, and they're trying to be billionaires on TikTok. How's that going to help me or
Yeah.
Yeah.
America?
Well, you got to start somewhere. You got to turn the
Yeah.
the ship
Listen, I'm a
because
TikTok star.
uh,
Hello. I mean, but yeah, that's the problem.
you
Yeah,
got to
we don't.
you got to do something.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, you
Well,
can't
we're
just say,
not.
well, in the next generation, you got to change it. You got to start
I got
changing
it.
something. 'Cause,
Okay.
why is China most favored nation? Why are the tariffs 2%? I mean, okay, every other place, the tariffs are definitely much
Um,
higher. I think it
Right.
makes sense that 10% across the board. You went from 2 to 10. Whoa, big
Right.
deal.
No big deal.
Okay, the
Yeah.
China thing,
well,
yeah, okay, I get the China thing. You know, I mean, we need to, at some point, I forget the word. Tame the
Make up
the
a word.
the, the dragon that is China because they're eating us.
Right.
They're eating us alive. And so
Right.
at some point you got to do something. I mean, if not, uh, we at some point then you lose everything. Look at the UK. I mean, the UK is just it's just become you know it's I don't know. It's like
Then
a
to your
banana
to your point,
republic.
but you have to curb the
They're just
U.S. You're like Tim Cook. Tim Cook's making what, $50 million a year? Okay, so Tim Cook and Jamie Dimon and the
yeah
rest of them now need to make normal salaries. Part of that is because they push things to China. Part of that's because they don't really give a rat's ass about the American public. They care about their shareholders, their stock price, their stakeholders. That's what they care
yeah
about. So listen, I love where you're going with this, but until you change the CEO's mentality and the shareholders and stakeholders mentality, it's all just a bunch of mental masturbation. Sorry.
Well, Steve, all right,
Yeah, no,
Stephen.
no,
So,
we're all in agreement.
I just
Yeah,
want
we're all in
let me
agreement that the
interject again.
C-suite is the cause of all this shit.
You know what we
Sure.
should do
Sorry.
to them? You know what we should do to the C-suites then? You know what I'm saying? All right, go ahead. What?
Uh-huh.
Good,
Yeah,
Mikey.
it's time.
Yeah,
No, I
no,
mean, what I was going to say is it takes it to the billionaire class and the ultra rich. They don't care about anything at a national level because they're global citizens in the sense
Right.
that they travel where they want to go. There's always a mechanism to manipulate a market or take advantage of any sort of arbitrage around the world. So the shift of global power away from the United States and away from we the people, so to speak, to more totalitarian states like China or
Right.
other places like that. Is that a problem? What does the billionaire class think about the shift of power? Do they even care that the United States would be a weaker place if, or that China would usurp it?
No, not at all. I don't think it's being the nice thing about having money is you can go anywhere on the planet and somebody will always want your money. We were talking before the show. You have Dubai, you have Monte Carlo, there's a couple other countries. There's always a place to go when you have money. And nobody with real money is keeping all their money in the United States
Right.
at all. And they're not keeping their money in stocks and bonds. Like, and I mean this if you're a millionaire, that's cool. You're a poor person. They're keeping their money scattered across different areas, different
Yeah.
asset
Right.
classes, whatever.
But,
So if the bond market goes crazy or the stock market, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Then
but
they have this. They have a
this is why there was a sign. I'm so glad it was finally out there. You remember after the crash in 2008, and then there was the Occupy Wall Street movement, and
right,
then as a response to that, to quash that, then you got into all the culture wars,
right.
and that removed the conversation about the 99% versus the 1%. But I saw a sign that said the only minority that's causing problems is the ultra rich, and that's a conversation that
mm,
if that's coming back, that might be the real conversation that's really driving all of this. Because if you think about who's really running the show anyway, all the politicians are playing to concerns of the ultra
Right.
rich because
yes.
that's who they listen to, because that's who they're engaging with, because that's who goes to their events and their fundraisers. And
And you can buy a presidency for $240 million. See, the difference between
Hey,
today's nouveau riche
that's not
and
bad.
old money, I know, right? It's cheap. It's cheap when you have a couple billion, right? But the difference between the nouveau riche today and the rich of the past is the rich of the past, and we've talked about this before, would still do everything that's being today, but they would do it in dark little corners at dinners and stuff that the public didn't know about. And they would make sure that the people that weren't at that line, at the below it, were taken care of. They had food, they had this, they made sure that it was okay, because what they don't want is what I've been saying.
I don't think the ultra rich, if they're having a conversation, I don't think that's actually happening. Because
It did up until, if you will, probably the late 80s, early 90s, where the ultra rich made sure things were okay. Now what's happening is we've become a society with your TikTok and Instagram going, look at me, look what I own, blah, blah, blah. So now it's become, I have more commas than you. I have more this than
yeah,
you.
right, right.
Back in the
No,
day, it
I've
was
heard
sort of
that. But
like,
it's unrelenting. It's
right. But back in the day, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was like, let's make sure, like New York City, when you were ultra rich in New York, like let's make sure we have shelters, we have food, we have mental institutes. Let's take care of these people, because what we don't want these people to do is what we saw 2 weeks ago is a couple 100,000 people at state capitals going, we hate Trump, we hate Musk, we hate this, we hate that. Because a couple 100,000 then become a couple million and it keeps growing. And I've said this before Trump got elected. You don't need 8 billion people to take a picnic, because when the ether wears off, you are SOL. I don't care how much money you have, there's no place to go. Now, granted, I do the show from Pluto. We're safe here. So it works well for us. But if you can't get to Pluto or Mars or something, you're SOL and you can't do anything no matter how much money you have. And that's the problem that the nouveau riche children today don't understand. Look at me, yada, yada, yada. Shut the fuck up and start quietly helping groups or people out, and
Yeah, but
things will
that's a
calm
mind
down.
shift. That's a mindset shift that has to happen at the highest levels, the deepest levels
And we're screwed.
of wealth and power. And
Yeah,
that's instead of doing that, they're building bunkers in Hawaii. And
yeah.
you know,
Listen,
and even that is a flawed. I
Yeah,
think
it's
the bunker mentality is a flawed mentality
that's
to
the dumbest
begin
thing
with.
in the world.
Yeah,
I
but
was
they're
like,
doing it.
serious.
But they're doing
Oh,
it,
I'm
and
aware.
it's more
They're
popular
doing
than
it.
ever before.
Yeah. They're doing it in upstate New York
yeah,
near you. They took all nuclear silos and they're doing it there. I have friends who have bunkers. I've been to one of
yeah.
them and I was like, what the? And it's beautiful, but I'm
Of
kind of
course,
like,
but if you really
huh.
think about the scenario in which you're going to need that, you're not going to
It's
last very long in any sort
Yeah,
of sane
right.
way.
And they're like, oh, this store will
right.
withhold this and this store will. I'm like, people are ingenious, pal. And if they want to get in here, you're so screwed. It
They
doesn't
know where
matter.
Zuckerberg's
Yeah.
compound is in Hawaii. They all know
Yeah.
where it is. They all know that if they needed to.
They can go. But that's my point, though. It's like, have we really gotten to that point that we need? Like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. We're on this little blue marble, third rock from the sun for the people that don't know. And we're all here together, all 8 billion of
I
us.
mean,
And if we
it sounds
and
makes
if we don't
sense.
and if we don't work together, this is what you have. I know the Voyager 98 or 99 took a picture, a billion zillion miles away of planet Earth. They turned
Yep,
it around for
yep,
this one little picture, right?
yep.
The little blue
The
dot.
last photo, yeah,
Last photo, that little blue dot in the middle of this is
yep,
us.
yeah.
And what people keep forgetting is, listen, whether this is a dream, a simulation, multiverse, blah, 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 I don't care. Whether, because everyone has a
We're
hypothesis.
still here. We're still here
We're still
together,
here.
trying to eke it out.
Whether the aliens are coming tomorrow, which they are, because we talk about this at the Illuminati
Uh huh.
Lizard People Society. But
I thought
whether
they're
they show
already
up,
here. But yeah.
we're here. Stop! Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. But whether they show up tomorrow and become benevolent rulers or become the assholes they really are and make you all slaves,
Uh huh.
you have to, as a population, work together. And the problem is, and it's great if you're rich, and if you're poor and you want to elevate, the rich should be mentoring, like, here's how we go to the next
Should
level.
have the
And you should,
opportunity. I know, but
everybody, right. So if I have a billion, I want my trillion, but the guy who has $25, I want to make sure he becomes a millionaire or better. Because in this way, we elevate everybody as everybody goes up. And then theoretically, then there is no poverty. There is no this, there is no that. And the other thing that we don't do here for all the stupid money, we'll go with healthcare. I mean, we can go through all that. So we are just a third rate shit little country, no better than anybody else. We just happen to be the police of the world until
for the
January
moment.
20th of this year. And now we're no better than, sorry, John, China, Russia, or any of them, right? Because we're doing the same shit. We have Trump who wants to get Greenland, and now they're going to have to invade the Panama Canal
I
because
mean,
the Hong Kong guys aren't selling.
I think American values still that's still an
We
exception.
have no
That
values, John or Michael. What's our value? Please tell me what an American value is at this point. I can't
you
wait.
know,
I'm all excited.
the freedom of speech, the independence of thought, the
That's
ability
going away.
to innovate.
That's going away.
Well, I mean, I hope it's not. I hope it's not. But
I'm with when
Yeah,
Trump he did the 1793 War Power Act. Okay, we're reaching back to go to War Power Act, right? We talked about this before the show. They're finally going to get the guy out of the El Salvador prison that they screwed up the
right,
administration. That's not our problem.
that's
It's too
crazy that
bad.
that even
Right.
happened. Of
And
course.
the Supreme Court was like, yeah, it's a US citizen. It is your problem. Go get
Yeah.
him. How
Yeah.
tough is it? So you have a State Department, you have an embassy, go there and go, we made a mistake. We need, I don't
Go
know,
get them.
John Smith or John Jose or B or C, whatever his name is. They go to the prison. They go, we're so sorry. You give them like 100 grand because you fucked up and go, we won't do it again. And you put them back at home and like, we're sorry. Nice, nice, done. But no, this administration is like, no. So we have no values. Sorry. Freedom of speech, Trump's suing everybody for anything you say against them. So yeah, and if he invokes like martial law, you won't be able to have free speech. And we don't have free speech because and I didn't agree with the 500 students, what they said, what they put on TikTok or whatever. They just kicked out 500 students that didn't agree with the president and said terrible things. And I'm okay that they said it. I didn't agree with their stuff on Palestine, all this other stuff, But if we are having free speech, it's free speech, right? Now, then didn't scream, um, movie in a crowded firehouse. So they're fine, but they did say XYZ. And that was terrible what they said. But if we have free speech, then that's free speech. You can't go, that's not free speech. So, no, we really don't have free speech because if the government doesn't like it, they will come and tell you you're a bad person. So we're losing our liberties. And the American public, because they're ostriches, don't see it until it affects them. By the time it affects them, it will be too late.
That's risky. Yeah,
Well,
there's a
yeah,
big yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, John.
The ones
No,
that are really lost, the ones that have really already lost it are Europe and the UK. They really don't have free speech. It's much,
yeah,
you
that's
complain about
already
here, but there, over there,
Mhm.
it's a disaster. In the
Oh, I know.
UK, they have what's called the Digital Safe Act. If
Right,
you say, if you complain, to anything on social media or anything, or somebody reports you. I mean, this
Mhm.
we're talking now, East Germany or something, or
Right,
the Soviet Union. If somebody reports you that you said something nasty, the police comes and they arrest you, and then they take you to court, and they send you to 3 years in prison. I mean, it's just, and you think somebody will say, no, you're exaggerating. No, I mean, there's case after case in the UK. Even the UK, I mean, even UK citizens are talking about this. But hey, be careful, because if you complain, but I mean, even the slightest. There was a
right,
group. I mentioned this in our WhatsApp, that some parents complained on a WhatsApp group about the school. I mean,
right.
and they came and arrested them. Coming like 5 police guys.
Mhm.
What did you say? Well, no, let's come over to the police station.
Right.
And
Well,
in
we're
in
not there
Germany
yet.
too, it's the same thing. I mean, if you criticize the government, yeah,
Yeah.
come on, we're gonna arresting you.
Yeah, right.
It's just
Well,
and
it's no different.
worst, that
Yeah.
that digital that act uh,
Yeah.
also applies to social media companies. There's a company called uh, with a G. I forget the name. Um,
Google.
Gab. I think it's called Gab. Right. It's a
Okay.
small company out in Portland or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they got a letter from the UK saying, okay, if you don't start moderating, hate speech and nasty speech, we're
Right.
gonna
Right.
fine you some ridiculous amount of money. And they were, this company said that, but we're not even in the UK. We
Right.
don't even have an office there. I mean,
Right.
we're just, we have a website, social media platform here in the US. What are you talking about? I mean, it's just, we're getting a little, the people in power actually are very scared of what's going
Mhm.
on, and so we have
Mm.
these new laws coming in to try and stay in power, suppress dissent, at all levels,
Mhm.
or opinion. So you know, it's a difficult world that we're living in. Um,
It's going to get worse.
Tariffs, well, the
There for
tariffs is a,
nothing.
is a small thing, I think, at this
The
Yeah.
point.
tariffs are a small thing
Yeah,
relative to the bigger issues that we're talking about here. So
I I think it
we'll have to
gets
get
yeah.
worse.
somebody on the we'll have to get a guest on the show to really dig deep into some of the structural problems of our
David can
of
come
our.
back and dig into it.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
talks it. Well, he talks to everybody on the Beltway, so
He
he's the
does.
perfect
Yeah.
guy because he actually knows. Like when we bring something up last week with him, he was like, "Oh, I
He's
spoke to
good.
this
Yeah,
guy
he
about
knew
yeah."
it. Yeah.
So once a month, David, once a month, you should come back and correct John because he's well, or correct all of us because we can always use your help. But yeah, um, I think unfortunately it may get worse before it gets better, and I don't
Yeah,
mean just the
I
United
think
States; I
that's
mean
I think
globally.
that's good, but I do think it'll get better. That's the thing. I
It
think there's a
will,
real opportunity for things to get better for average people. I
but
don't
I
know
think
how that's going to happen.
I think because 8 billion people are going to take a picnic. And that's what everybody you call them ultra wealthy. I just call them my friends. That's what everybody that I know wants to avoid. We don't want a picnic. We want to make
I
sure that
know.
there is no
I
picnic.
know, but
Everybody's taken care of.
the wealth inequality is just too great. Yeah,
Wealth
it's
inequality means nothing if you take care of everybody. That's like a big healthcare thing. Like people can't afford to go to the doctor. People can't afford to eat. Make sure they can go to the doctor. Make sure they can eat. They have running water. They have good
no,
living
you're right,
conditions.
but I mean
All that's it.
but that would be like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That gap is where, okay, so the gap is you're not even catering to the basic needs of being a human being living on
Right.
planet Earth for lots of people, and at the same time, the social media and the regular media are all amplifying the super wealthy lifestyle, which is not
Mhm.
for everyone, first of all.
Mhm.
And second of all, most people don't even want, they just want to get by and have a decent life. But that, is long gone now.
And just because
Well,
you
we know
and
that the
as
A
problem,
lot of,
at the core is the C-suites and the boards. Because if we
right.
start changing that, because that's what took us to where we are today,
Yeah.
right?
mm,
They're the ones that shipped the manufacturing overseas. They're the ones that did, the technology transfer with the Chinese, with the promise of a billion people that don't buy anything. So we need to change the C-suite and the boards
That's not
mm,
happening.
at a that needs to be where the revolution needs to be. And if it has to be, it has to be at the. If it's not going to be voluntary, we're going to have to do it by force, by law.
And by shareholder votes. That's the only force you have, John.
Yeah, well,
You're
but
not going to
most
get rid of Tim Cook at
as you know,
Apple.
most people don't vote, and they
I know.
buy ETFs. And
Yeah.
who
right.
votes the ETFs? BlackRock, State
Yeah.
Street,
Yeah.
Vanguard, Fidelity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to. I think that we're missing the conversation everywhere. That it's the C-suite and the boards that need to change. We
mm,
don't need to pay $73 million, $53 million for CEOs of hospitals. I mean, you got to be joking. You
mm,
should get no more than 10 or 15 times the average, salary.
All right.
Let's do it like Sweden does. Where the situation there is very different. The pay scales. I mean, we need to have that. That's where the conversation is. We don't get that because the people in power, the people that have the money, control the information flow,
Mhm.
mm.
right?
And the conversation. So,
Yeah, and so we never get to that. We talk about the tariffs and all the hysteria about stuff that really isn't happening. Doge and the reality is the problem is at the C-suite, at the boards,
Mhm.
that do all this shit and that create pay at the C level, which is you don't need the superstar. You can have the C team and they'll do just fine running
mm,
these companies. But
You don't need a personality running the company. Well, look, and you look at Elon Musk, what, $57 billion, and the Delaware court's like, yeah, no, that's not happening. That's my point. And we've talked about this before. Until you start changing the way people think, and that really starts at the shareholder level before you can start changing the C-suite and the board of directors. Until the shareholders are like, I made 10%. I'm happy. Not like I made
yeah, right.
10,000% this week. That's a problem. And that's why I said people with money don't have their money in like just stocks and bonds. They have across thousands of asset classes that most people don't even know exist. And that nobody gives a shit. Market goes up 7 trillion, goes down 7 trillion. It's like, yeah, okay. I don't care. I got, over here. I mean, it's like, no, it's no big deal. And that's what the average American doesn't understand. And even most of the guys on Wall Street don't understand. There's
Mm,
only the way if you call them the ultra wealthy, the way they look at it is a much different way than the other people on the planet look
yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
So there's no big deal to them. And if the US implodes, that'll go somebody else. No big deal. Because that's why they have 7,000 properties throughout the world. That's why they know every leader. That's why they go do this stuff. They do it because if there's an implosion at A, they can go to B. And that's how the game is played. And whether they end up in China or Dubai or here or there or blah, 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 they don't care. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's just another place with four walls they're going to go hang out. So if the
And on
American
that
public
note,
doesn't have to change, yeah, we're screwed.
yeah,
All right. And on
on
that
that
note, let's go to
positive.
Lost and
on
Found.
that chipper note. All right, here's to the ultra wealthy. Let's go into Lost and
Thank you.
Found.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and found because every dollar has a story.
Oh,
Every
I
dollar
like that
does
guy
something.
there. That guy like there stuffing the money in his jacket.
Uh,
John, oh, by the way, if you look up
what
your
I got?
GAB, so wait, before you do that, I looked up
Yeah,
GAB social media company. It says it's the free speech platform. So there you go. If you guys
yeah,
want,
yeah.
go to
Oh,
Uh,
Gab?
gab.com and it's
Oh,
a
you're
free
talking about
speech.
Gab. Yeah,
Yeah, I looked up
GAB.
Gab free speech
Gab, yeah,
platform.
yeah,
It's green.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's very
Social.
nice. Yeah, Gab Social. There you go.
I
We
don't
just
know.
plugged you. No, they won't even
Yeah,
nothing. So there, it's a
They
Gab
don't want
yeah.
Social.
anything.
So
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
yeah. What do you got, John?
all right. So the largest mall in America, which is here in New Jersey, just
Yeah.
defaulted on a $300 million bond, uh, which I think is interesting.
Okay.
Sort of symptomatic of what of a situation, right?
Right.
Lower consumption, I guess. Not as much shopping. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so that's one thing. So I guess dollar loss there for
Right.
bondholders. The other thing is Harvard University. They've lost a whole bunch of federal funding
Yeah.
because they promote bad ideas. Um, so
Well,
because
they've got it, don't
yeah,
feel too bad. They've got a $60 billion endowment, right?
Yeah. I think they'll be fine, John.
well,
So,
wait, no, but
uh,
no. We have a 60, is it 60? Okay, I didn't realize it was 60. I thought it was
yeah, it's huge.
50 or 40, but okay. The- yeah, but we don't have enough money. So we're issuing a $750 million bond. We're going to borrow money, even though we got
Yeah.
60 billion.
Yeah,
We're
right.
going
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
Because why
we're going
not?
to,
Why not? Why spend
why
your
not?
cash
Yeah,
to
because there's a
borrow
sucker
money?
out
Yeah.
there everywhere. Yeah,
Oh, here,
yeah.
you know who's going to buy it?
So,
All their stupid
you know,
alumni. We'll go ahead
Right,
and give
right,
them money
right.
yeah.
for it, and they'll get 3%.
So
And that's dumb.
I thought that
That's the
was
dumbest
kind
thing.
of
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how to label that one, but you got 60
Yeah.
billion where we're going to borrow close to $1 billion, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're losing
Just to
we're
keep the
losing all
ship
this
It,
running, we're
funding.
gonna borrow some money. Yeah.
I always I'm amazed at how these universities continue to spend because the the bond is supposedly going to be used for infrastructure and
right.
another sort of um, buildings and some research and stuff, but I mean they continue to pour money like this at a huge rate, and
Right.
their fees could continue to go up,
Mhm.
uh, so it's
And you get to take
it's a
remedial math
it's
when you go
it's
to
a sort of a
Harvard now,
symptom
too.
of how we're operating in the US. Borrow money
Yeah.
and spend,
Right.
with
Yeah.
and I guess we'll worry about it anyway. So, but I thought it was funny that 700 they were borrowing 750 when they got the huge endowment, as you will point out.
60
Yeah.
billion.
So
John,
Right. Yeah.
that's
Right.
they have to teach their kids remedial math. I'm sure these people that are doing the
yeah,
bond need remedial math as well.
yeah,
They don't understand 60 billion is probably more than 750 million. So until they can figure that out, they
yeah,
have to borrow. That's too funny. Oh my God.
Wow.
yeah.
All right.
Michael, what do you have?
Yeah, I
Anything
got.
good?
Yeah. Well, there was an AI company called Nate,
Hmm.
run by this guy Albert Saniger, and
Okay.
he's in the U.S. and in 2018 he raised $50 million for his AI company, and then raised another 38 million, saying that the people on his app, Nate, which I
Right.
never heard of, but this guy was
Right.
providing a universal checkout experience, meaning that you can buy from any e-commerce site with a single click through his app. So he was the
Wow.
intermediary for every. That's an interesting idea, but the
Yeah.
DOJ of the Southern District of New York says this guy was completely lying, and there was no AI. In fact, it was hundreds of human contractors in the
Oh my
Philippines
God.
who were manually completing those purchases on behalf of his users. So there
Oh
was
my God.
actual automation rate 0%. So he's going to jail probably.
Wow.
But he didn't
Don't
steal
lie.
anything.
But did he
He
steal
just didn't do
anything?
his thing. He didn't steal anything. He just lied when he raised the money.
Well,
That's why.
he lied and raised $88 million on that lie.
Yeah, but the
So
people didn't lose their money.
Did he buy a condo in Dubai with all that money?
Yeah, like
yeah,
he's not my
I'll do
neighbor.
some further research and see what he
Yeah,
did with the 88 mil. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you put it back in the company, then they're going to get him for lying to investors. But he didn't.
that's
If
what
he
they're
didn't
saying.
defraud, okay,
That's what they're
that's
saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
You can't lie to investors. But it'd be interesting to see how they punish him, because if the company's still operating and still making money, and the investors are making money,
yeah. It's a
then
good.
they just need to come up
It's a
with an
good
AI, and they're
function.
ready. I don't know.
Yeah, but now it's
Here's
just a completely different. Yeah, completely
Here's
different
the one that
company.
got me. Here's the one that got me this week. OpenAI slashes AI testing models test safety testing time. Testers have raised concerns that the technology is being rushed out without significant safeguards. And I say, good for them. I don't want safeguards. I want it off the rails. I want AI to take over. I can't wait. That's a dollar win as far as I'm concerned.
Lot of winning.
There's a lot of winning there. I'm excited. Why test AI?
Okay.
Screw the robots in China that I like. Don't even
Just
test them. Just
let
put
him
them
run
over here.
amok. Yeah,
What the hell? Come on. Listen, have you noticed the world
Yeah.
we live in today? It's running amok. It's like
it's already no. It's all
yeah.
there's. I watched this great. Well, maybe I'll share it with you guys for next time. But
Okay.
this interesting concept around AI. We're just thinking about how we're just running forward at 100 miles an hour without any regard for what's on the other side of having a truly autonomous world, that where humans, our level of thought will not be comparable to what is
AI.
going to be thought by AI. So
I
what
told
does
you.
that mean? What does that even mean?
Remember what my friend used to say? He used to say, like always creates like. And I said that, and I looked at me, because this is back 30 years ago when artificial
Yeah,
intelligence, he'd be like, who's to say? And I agree with him this, we're not artificial intelligence. And now we're creating the next level.
right.
And, it's like very interesting when you
Then we'll
start like,
disappear.
yeah, like, so we'll be gone. There'll be the next level of artificial intelligence. And 10,000 years from now, they're going to be like, ooh, we just created whatever they call it. We got to
Right,
be
right.
careful. And then it's just this cycle that just
They
keeps happening. So,
could be the cycle. So so they were right.
yeah.
The followers of Hinduism were right. It's cycles all around.
Turtle on top of turtle on top of turtle on
That's
top of
right.
turtle on top of turtle. There you go.
That's right.
Guys, as always, it has been a blast.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you
Yep.
can catch you can catch the slow or a show every Friday morning live. And John, stop talking. And we'll be back Saturday morning is the broadcast. Saturday morning is also one that you can catch us on your podcast. If you'd like to be a guest, like David was last week, reach out to us and we will have you on. And David will be back, I guess, in a couple of weeks, because
Let's
everybody
hope
loved
so.
David. We
Yeah,
got all
that's
positive
right.
comments. And guys, it's always good to see you. John, have a wonderful week. Good luck with whatever you're hunting the Nazi gold. Michael, good luck on your stuff. And to all our fans, thanks for watching and listening. And don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll see you all next week.
Good
Cheers,
show.
everybody.
All right. Cheers.
See you.